The display in front of you is a display of parade uniforms from the early 1930s, that the various fire companies in Harrisonburg used. Fire departments back in the early 1920s and on up until the 50s or 60s were as much social organizations as anything. If you didn't belong to the fire department, you just didn't belong. It's kind of like the Elks Club or the Eagles or an organization like that. So the fire companies usually had a significant number of members. Every fire company, and at that time there were about 5 or 6 in Rockingham County, and there were 2 in Harrisonburg. They all had lawn parties. A lawn party, if you're not familiar, is just, it's another word for a carnival. And the fire companies throughout Rockingham County and Harrisonburg, 1 week during the summer, would have their carnival, or as they called it, their lawn party. The lawn party would consist of the carnival starting on Monday night and going through Saturday night, and every Friday night, somewhere in Rockingham County or the city of Harrisonburg, there was a fireman's parade. And the fireman's parade consisted of the firefighters showing up in uniform and marching somewhere from a starting point to the lawn party grounds. And it broke up there at the lawn party grounds, so everybody's there and enjoying the carnival or the lawn party. Host Company number 4 was one of the 2 volunteer fire companies in Harrisonburg that eventually became the Harrisonburg Fire Department. The other was Fire Company number 1, and these uniforms that you see are uniforms, parade uniforms from both Fire Company number 1 and Host Company number 4. This is Fire Company number 1 uniform from the 20s and early 30s. This is a ladies auxiliary uniform in a men's uniform, same organization, Fire Company number 1, but later. This was 40s and 50s. And the red and white uniform is a example of Host Company number 4's marching uniform. And these uniforms were used, the last 2, the green one and the red ones, were used up until the 50s. At that time, volunteerism started to wane throughout the area and really throughout the country. It was not unusual to show you, give you an example of what I'm talking about. I don't know how well you can see that, but you can pick the picture up off the shelf here and take a look at it. But look at the number of firefighters that are in uniform that showed up to a carnival or a lawn party. Now, I don't know where this was, but this was typical of the number of people who would turn out for a parade. The typical parade lineup would be, you would start off with one of these banners, somebody carrying these banners that you see on the wall here. Behind the banner, you would have the men, this number of men marching. Behind the men, you would have the ladies auxiliary in their uniforms. Behind the ladies auxiliary, you would have the fire truck. And some of these fire companies with the numbers would take up a whole city block. So firemen parades back in that era were a big thing and got a huge turnout from the community. Now, some fire companies were lucky enough to have a band or some type of music to march to. Others just marched up the street and tried to keep in step on their own. Host Company number 4 had a drum and bugle corps, and I'll show you an example of their uniforms here in just a minute. But the whole procession would be led by the drum and bugle corps playing music, and the men and the ladies then marching to the drum and bugle corps. The parade always had prizes. They had prizes for the best appearing fire company, for the best appearing ladies auxiliary, for the best appearing fire truck, for the fire company coming the longest distance. And some of these companies would come from 50 and 60 miles away, wherever the parade was. But the idea was to show your best as you went by the judges' platform and try to win the prize for the best appearing fire company and the best appearing ladies auxiliary. The uniform that you see on the end, the blue uniform, is a city paid personnel uniform that belonged to my father. My father was assistant fire chief for 38 years here in Harrisonburg, and that's the uniform that he had when he served as assistant fire chief. I mentioned Hose Company Number 4's Drum and Bugle Corps just a few minutes ago. This display is an example of the uniform and the drums and the bugles that Hose Company Number 4's Drum and Bugle Corps used when they were marching with Hose Company Number 4 in the parades. You can see a couple examples here of the Drum and Bugle Corps. This is one of the Drum and Bugle Corps posed in front of Hose Company Number 4 fire station, which sat right here on this corner of Elizabeth Street. And there's also a photo here of Hose Company Number 4 in the line of march, marching up Main Street, just south of Court Square, past what used to be People's Drugstore. People's Drugstore is no longer located there. But if you're familiar at all with Harrisonburg years ago, this photograph will bring back some memories.